Brent Hubbs, Rob Lewis, Volquest.com. It's time for the Exterior Home Solutions Fast Break as Tennessee survives a wild one in Missouri. Volunteers win over the winless Tigers, winless in conference play, 72-67. Rob Lewis, I'll give you the floor. Explain this one to everybody.
Well, I mean, just like we said, Hubbard, they had it the whole way. Like we were talking about off the air. I mean, seriously, I don't think either one of us is blown away that Tennessee struggled. I'm really surprised they looked as bad as they did in the first half. Now, I'm not remotely surprised they went on the road and didn't look great, but to have to dig down as deep as they did, and they had to dig. I mean, in Missouri, I mean, I don't know, they may not have had control of that thing in the second half, but they weren't far from it. And just the first 20 minutes of basketball, I mean, given the way Tennessee had been playing coming in, I mean, they had been playing at a very high level on both ends of the court, and for them to start out like that tonight, I was really surprised. Again, not surprised they struggled, no matter what Missouri's record is. I'm not surprised by that. I mean, if you watch Missouri on Saturday, that's a team that's still playing hard. They took Ole Miss, down in the final minutes on the road in Oxford. I mean, they're not mailing it in, but man, it was shocking to see how bad Tennessee was in that first half.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, I mean, both teams were dreadful offensively. And I mean, everything was there for Tennessee if you just have a pulse to start the game. You don't have to come out and make six of your first 10 to get control of the game. I mean, Missouri had two, free throws for what, 7, 8 minutes of the basketball game
They
or something?
started 0 for 11 in
Yeah.
the fourth,
I
and
mean,
and
oh,
led and led at halftime over
yeah.
the number 5 team in America.
Yeah, led at halftime and out rebounded Tennessee at the end of the first half too. I'm sure the halftime speech from Rick Barnes was not real fun. Couple things that stand out. We're going to get to Dalton Connect in a minute, but I want to talk about the decision to play the two bigs together.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee knew they had an advantage with the big guys, right? But to play both of them together for that long of a stretch, we've not seen that this year. Why do you think Barnes went that way? And obviously, it paid huge dividends.
Well, I mean, I think very obviously he went that way because they were getting out rebounded 22-20 at halftime. And that may not sound all that significant, but Missouri is the worst team in the rebounding team in the league, and it's not close. They're -9 and some change in rebounding margin in SEC play, which is almost a full 3 boards worse than Arkansas, that's in 13th place. I mean, they are bad. They were bad, and they were beating Tennessee on the boards in the first half. And I would imagine that Rick peeled paint off the walls at halftime. And the result, and kudos to him for changing it up. I mean, Tope is averaging 12 minutes a game on the year. He played 14 in the second half. Jonas played all 20 in the second half, and it paid off. Tennessee out rebounded Missouri 19-12 in the second half, and Tobe and Jonas combined for 20 points in the second half. I mean, Dalton was huge, big, enormous, but man, what the work Tobe and Jonas did to really turn the tide in the paint, that was significant.
Yeah, those two finished 12 of 17 from the field, 32 points, 14 rebounds, 5 blocks, 2 steals in the game, and I think they combined for 2 turnovers. And they stayed out of foul trouble, which
And
all positive signs for
and and,
Tennessee.
and Tobe 6 of 7 at the line. This is a kid that shot 40% last year. I mean, that's big. And 18 points career high. His previous career high was 11 against I want to say George Mason. I mean, significantly different circumstances to get to get 18 on the road tonight in a game where your team really needed it.
Will you think they'll play that lineup more, or do you think they're skeptical of playing that because of foul trouble and matchups? Obviously, the matchup here played into their favor. They could handle it on that way, but do you think that's something they look at more as a possibility with certain matchups down the stretch here?
Hubbard, I almost wonder. I mean, I think they do it. I mean, they want to play fast, and there's no question having Josiah at the 4 instead of Tobey is. I mean, you're faster. I mean, you got a guy that can grip it and rip it. But after you see what happened tonight, uh, I kind of lean towards thinking it would be situational, based on your matchups. But man, they were so hard to handle tonight. You wonder if you don't, kind of give somebody that look and make them match up with you, like as opposed to it being a reaction to somebody else going big. And again, Missouri's really bad inside. I mean, that's not something that's going to be as effective against every team. But boy, it was a lifesaver tonight.
All right, so the box score looks pretty good. Tennessee's got 4 players in double figures. They shoot it really well the second half, yada, yada, yada. But this is a team that was down 5, Rob, with what, 13 and a half minutes to play or something like that. Dalton
Down
connects.
7,
Yeah,
14-35.
yeah, Dalton connects a non-factor at that point, hadn't made a shot. have you seen anybody? I mean, we've seen him do things. Have you seen anybody do that? I mean, it was like he checked in mentally, gave it to you for about 5 minutes, and that was good enough, and that was all Tennessee needed from him to get the win. I mean, it was a crazy 5 minute stretch where he just said,
Yeah,
"All right, it's time for me to go."
man, I mean, Hubbard, I would have to think, man, I probably saw Chris Lofton, have stretches like that, or, probably Dalton's even had some stretches like that himself. But the difference being, I don't think I've seen anybody have a stretch like that when his team was down seven on the road, and when he was 0 for 8 and couldn't buy a bucket, before then. Just somebody that had just been cold as ice. And then, I mean, he hit 6 shots in the game, and he hit them in a span of 4 minutes and 55 seconds. He scored 15 points in 4 minutes and 55 seconds. It just completely changed the whole complexion of the game. I mean, just totally turned it on his head.
Yeah, and the two shots he missed, they resulted in offensive tip-ins
Yeah,
by
there you go.
by Jonas Head. I mean, for 5 plus minutes, like he was the only one that took a shot.
And
Like,
well, the one shot he didn't take was when he assisted. He fired that one to Tobey right under the rim, and was
right,
a
for a
great play.
dunk. Yeah, for a dunk. So just a crazy, bizarre basketball game that when you read the box score, you say, okay, Tennessee wasn't great, but they played pretty well there. That you got to dive into it to see how Tennessee won this game. They survive, advance on the road, if you will. They come home now, get an A&M team that dropped a home game to Arkansas tonight.
He's lost three straight since they
Yeah,
beat
since they
Tennessee.
beat Tennessee. So don't know what you're going to get with them when they come in on Saturday, and we'll see where Tennessee is at. Obviously, this is a team that started better at home, with the exception of one game, the South Carolina game. They've been good the rest of the time to start games at home. So we'll see how Tennessee responds after this game, but they've responded enough in the second half to find a way to get the win. We've got full coverage of the win. We've got full coverage of all things Tennessee basketball at Volquest.com right now. That's going to do it for this edition of the Fast Break, presented by our good friends at Exterior Home Solutions. Your roof, it's the most important protection against nature for your home or your business. That's why I trust the experts at Exterior Home Solutions.